On August 8, 2019, Jeffrey Epstein sat alone in a cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan and signed an updated version of his will. In it, he left $50 million to his lawyer, $25 million to his accountant, $10 million to the children of a Norwegian diplomat, $10 million to Ghislaine Maxwell, and another $50 million, along with 2 Caribbean islands, a Manhattan townhouse, a Paris apartment, a Palm Beach mansion, a New Mexico ranch, a 33-carat diamond ring, and 48 loose diamonds to his last known girlfriend. Just 2 days later, Epstein was found dead in his cell. His cellmate, Efren Reyes, had begged him not to do it, but Epstein reassured him, saying not to worry. The next day, Reyes was moved in a routine transfer, and the day after, Epstein was found dead and alone. Things got even stranger. A jail supervisor later told the FBI that staff had taken boxes and sheets and arranged what looked like a human body. They loaded it into a white van labeled as belonging to the medical examiner's office, while the media followed. Meanwhile, Epstein's actual body was loaded into a separate black vehicle and left unnoticed. This is not some conspiracy theory. It comes straight from an FBI interview memo dated August 16, 2019, which was released by the United States Department of Justice on January 30, 2026, along with over 3.5 million pages of documents, 180,000 images, and 2,000 videos related to Epstein. This makes it one of the largest single document releases in American history. Before we get into the shocking details, you need to understand something. This is not about speculation or conspiracy. This is about what's in the files, directly from FBI memos, emails, and draft indictments. These files show what the government knew, when they knew it, and what they chose to do or not do about it. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche stated on CNN that after reviewing these files, the Department of Justice concluded there was nothing prosecutable. He said essentially, "We have shown our work. The world can look at it and tell us if we got it wrong." Today, we're going to see exactly what they might have gotten wrong. Be warned, this topic is extremely sensitive. If you are triggered by discussions of sexual abuse, trafficking, or exploitation, you might want to skip this. But it is critical we understand the scale of what happened, because this isn't just a story of rich people misbehaving. This was a system built for abuse. Jeffrey Epstein didn't just have a social circle of influential friends. He built an operation with infrastructure, employees, logistics, and recruitment pipelines. The United States government had details of this operation for nearly 20 years and did almost nothing. Buried in these millions of pages is a 56-page draft federal indictment prepared by prosecutors in the Southern District of Florida in the mid-2000s. It lists 60 counts, not just against Epstein, but also against 3 co-conspirators, described as personal assistants who are still redacted even in 2026. The charges included child trafficking, conspiracy, enticement of minors, and traveling with intent to engage in illegal activity. The indictment states these 4 individuals conspired to persuade, induce, and entice individuals who had not attained the age of 18 to engage in prostitution. 19 girls are named using Jane Doe pseudonyms, some as young as 14. The co-conspirators would call these girls, arrange for them to travel to Epstein's Palm Beach estate, and Epstein would abuse them and pay them. In some cases, the girls were forced to perform sexual acts with other co-defendants. Victims were paid hundreds of dollars per visit and then encouraged to recruit other girls, creating a pyramid scheme of abuse. When one girl hinted at telling anyone, Epstein threatened her, saying that if she reported anything, bad things could happen. Despite all this, the indictment was never filed.
There is even a blank space where the grand jury's signature should have been. Prosecutors prepared a separate memo to U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta recommending a sealed indictment and Epstein's immediate arrest in 2007, describing him as an extreme flight risk and a continued danger to the community. But Acosta made a deal instead, allowing Epstein to plead guilty to a state charge of soliciting prostitution from someone under 18, not sex trafficking, not conspiracy, just solicitation. Epstein served 13 months out of an 18-month sentence, with work release allowing him to leave jail during the day. Later, the Department of Justice reviewed the deal and said Acosta showed poor judgment. He went on to become Donald Trump's Secretary of Labor, resigning only in 2019 when Epstein's case resurfaced. In Palm Beach, FBI 302s from 2007 describe a household employee who fanned out $100 bills next to Epstein's bed, placed a gun between mattresses, cleaned after what Epstein called massages, disposed of condoms, and delivered flowers to high school girls. Epstein even had the girls drive his cars and go shopping while under his control. These are classic grooming tactics, fully documented by the FBI. Ghislaine Maxwell ran the entire operation, recruiting women under the guise of professional massages or dance classes. She coordinated domestic and international travel, helped with passports, and used modeling agencies as fronts to bring in foreign nationals. The FBI described her as a dangerous figure who instructed victims on how to dress and interact with high-profile men. Jean-Luc Brunel, a modeling agent, acted as an intermediary and was later arrested in France for sexual exploitation of minors, though he died in a French jail before trial. Survivors said that even after leaving Epstein's orbit, they were contacted by people claiming to represent him, pressuring them to cooperate with federal investigations. FBI interviews from 2021 recount women meeting Epstein at 14 or 17, being drawn into massage sessions that escalated into sexual abuse, financial control, and coercion to recruit friends. The system was methodical: ice cream trips, car rides, shopping, cash on nightstands, guns between mattresses, flowers to high school students, a fully mechanized operation abusing minors as if they were resources, while no meaningful prosecutions occurred.
Among the documents released is a 32-page diary kept by one of Epstein's victims when she was 16 or 17, submitted to the Department of Justice by her attorney. Every page is marked confidential. The diary details life under total control. Where she lived, what she did, and who she saw was dictated entirely by Epstein. What's even worse, the diary claims that Epstein fathered a child with her around 2002. She gave birth to a baby girl who was immediately taken from her. She wrote about the birth: "A shot and those rod-like things had a hook and so much pain." Ghislaine said to push all the pain away. She was allowed only 10 to 15 minutes to hold and feed the baby before it was taken. She wrote, "She is mine. I want her back." Later entries describe a second pregnancy, after the first child had survived and was taken, that ended in miscarriage. She wrote, "I no longer feel like a person, but a vessel." These journal entries are horrifying. She questioned why Epstein chose her, wondering, why me? Why my hair and eye color? She described Epstein's obsession with creating what he called a superior gene pool, likening it to Nazi ideology. The diary also aligns with prior reporting in 2019 by the New York Times, which revealed Epstein had told associates he wanted to impregnate women at his New Mexico ranch to spread his DNA. So the diary confirms that at least one teenage girl was impregnated, gave birth, and had the child taken away, all documented in government files, while no one was ever prosecuted. Another email in the files from September 2011 congratulates Epstein on welcoming a baby boy. He never publicly acknowledged any children, because doing so would have meant admitting to his crimes. Epstein's operation did not exist in isolation. He maintained a social ecosystem of some of the world's most powerful people, those who visited him, emailed him, flew to his island, or accepted gifts while ignoring abuse. These 3.5 million pages of documents reveal who these people were and what they did. Legally, being mentioned in these files does not automatically mean someone committed a crime. Some may have had legitimate professional relationships or may not have known what was happening. But some connections are so deep and ongoing that ignorance seems unlikely. Donald Trump appears in the files thousands of times, not just in passing. While this does not prove guilt, the details are uncomfortable. A 2021 FBI memo records a victim saying that Maxwell presented her to Trump at a party, introducing her similar to a CV, implying she was available. The victim said nothing happened, but the very idea that girls were presented in this way is disturbing. Emails between Epstein and Maxwell reference Trump in ambiguous contexts, such as Maxwell writing, "I thought you said not to involve Donald." Epstein's house manager testified that Maxwell tried to recruit a girl at Mar-a-Lago, Trump's property. An FBI spreadsheet from August 2025 compiled over a dozen unverified allegations about Trump, including supposed calendar girl auctions and a golf course trafficking ring. There was also a 1994 civil lawsuit from a Jane Doe claiming she was at an Epstein party with Trump when she was 13. The case was withdrawn, refiled, and eventually dropped. Trump has denied all allegations related to Epstein. The files show only that there were multiple points of contact. Bill Clinton appears in connection with at least 16 flights on Epstein's private plane. In a 2016 deposition, Epstein invoked the Fifth Amendment on questions regarding Clinton. A 2009 email from socialite Peggy Siegel indicates Clinton and Jeff Bezos were at a party hosted by Maxwell. Clinton has denied knowledge of Epstein's crimes. In January 2026, the House of Representatives held Bill and Hillary Clinton in contempt for failing to comply with subpoenas related to the Epstein investigation. Peter Mandelson, former UK Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, appears more than 5,000 times in the files. Epstein listed him in a birthday book as my best pal. Emails reveal that Mandelson leaked UK tax plans to Epstein, and Epstein gave £10,000 to Mandelson's partner. After the document release, Mandelson resigned from the Labour Party and the House of Lords, and the Metropolitan Police launched an active criminal investigation. Prince Andrew appears several hundred times, including in photographs showing him kneeling over a woman whose face is redacted. Emails between Epstein and Andrew discuss introductions to young women and private dinners with lots of privacy. Virginia Giuffre's 2013 FBI statement alleges she was recruited from Mar-a-Lago and abused by Andrew. He was stripped of all royal titles in 2025, and the UK Prime Minister urged him to cooperate with investigators. Howard Lutnick, U.S. Secretary of Commerce, claimed he cut off contact with Epstein in 2005, but files show ongoing communication through at least 2015, including social visits and invitations to fundraisers. Steve Bannon, former Trump strategist, is in the files for manipulative communications, bragging about influencing Trump's decisions and receiving gifts from Epstein, including a $1,500 Hermes watch. Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary and Harvard president, emailed Epstein in 2017 about Trump, calling him mentally ill. Summers maintained contact with Epstein long after his 2008 conviction. Crown Princess Mette-Marit of Norway exchanged hundreds of emails with Epstein, calling him sweetheart, and continuing communication even after allegations became public. She stayed at Epstein's Palm Beach estate in 2013. Public apology and minimal consequences followed.
Kathy Rumler, former White House counsel and Goldman Sachs legal officer, emailed Epstein repeatedly, calling him Wonderful Jeffrey and asking for advice on public statements. Epstein's estate claimed attorney-client privilege over hundreds of these emails, suggesting she provided legal services to a convicted child trafficker while publicly denying a meaningful relationship.
Then we get to Elon Musk, and this one is a masterclass in how public statements and private communications don't always match. In September 2025, months before the document release, Musk posted on X that Epstein tried to get me to go to his island and I refused, all caps, definitive, end of story. But emails in the files tell a different story. On November 25, 2012, Epstein emailed Musk asking how many people he would be bringing for the heli to Ireland, meaning the helicopter to Little St. James, Epstein's private island. Musk replied, probably just Tula and me, referring to his wife at the time. Then Musk followed up, asking, what day/night will be the wildest party on your island? That's a direct quote. Later, on Christmas Day 2012, Musk emailed again, writing about wanting to hit the party scene in St. Bart's or elsewhere and let loose once his children left. In December 2013, he asked Epstein, is there a good time to visit? And Epstein responded, always space for you, adding, I will come and get you. So while the files do not confirm that Musk actually went to Epstein's island, they confirm he was invited and actively coordinating visits, discussing parties, and planning to let loose. Reading through all this is infuriating because it shows a system where wealthy and powerful people could engage with a convicted predator, sometimes knowingly, while the victims remained unprotected. Epstein's machine had employees, logistics, and recruitment pipelines. Victims were recruited under the guise of modeling or professional massages, then coerced into sexual acts. They were financially controlled, isolated, and pressured to recruit others. Employees bought gifts, cleaned up after abuse, and even delivered flowers to high school students. The FBI had extensive interviews and documentation from years before the document release, yet prosecutions were minimal and only a few people faced serious legal consequences. The emails, diaries, and FBI 302 memos paint a picture of a predator operating with full infrastructure. The diary entries describe girls who felt like they were vessels for Epstein, abused repeatedly, and even forced into pregnancies. The social connections show that some of the world's most influential politicians, business leaders, and royals were at least tangentially connected, whether through visits, emails, or introductions. While legal guilt is not automatically proven by these files, the patterns of behavior, secrecy, and enabling are undeniable. The files also show attempts to manipulate, cover up, and control information, with some people lying about the extent of their connections or publicly denying what the documents reveal. This is not just a story about a few powerful men and women acting immorally. It is a story of a system that enabled abuse, ignored warning signs, and allowed crimes to go unpunished for decades. The Department of Justice's release of 3.5 million pages, including emails, interviews, and memos, gives the public the chance to see the full scope of Epstein's operations and the people around him. Many of the names in these files, from Trump to Clinton to Musk, Summers, Bannon, and European royalty, are shocking to the public because they show a world where influence and wealth can insulate people from accountability. Epstein's death did not stop the investigation, and while he cannot be held accountable, the files give insight into the people who continued his social and criminal networks. It also demonstrates how victims' voices were often silenced or ignored, despite mountains of evidence in government files. Reading the FBI interviews, witness statements, and emails is painful but necessary to understand how abuse and corruption intersected with power. The system allowed victims to be exploited, manipulated, and treated as commodities, while the powerful moved freely within Epstein's orbit.
Ultimately, the Epstein files are more than a scandal. They are evidence of a carefully constructed operation designed to exploit, control, and profit from vulnerable individuals, running openly within elite circles. The files also reveal failures by law enforcement, prosecutors, and politicians who either ignored, downplayed, or actively concealed what was happening. The world now has access to this massive trove of information, and it forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about who wields power and how abuse can be hidden behind wealth and influence. Even after decades, the released documents show a pattern: manipulation, secrecy, coercion, and a system designed to protect Epstein and his network while silencing victims. This is not speculation. These are FBI memos, emails, diaries, and federal drafts. The story is vast, horrifying, and deeply unsettling. For victims, the files validate their experiences. For the public, the files expose a system that allowed abuse to flourish. And for those implicated, the documents present questions of accountability, ethics, and legal responsibility. The full extent of Epstein's crimes, the names of those involved, and the evidence collected reveal a network that was far larger and more entrenched than previously understood. This is the reality contained in the files. It is essential to read and understand the scope, because ignoring it allows such systems of abuse to persist. The power, wealth, and influence of those involved created an environment where exploitation was normalized and victims were ignored. Midnight Crime Archives will continue to examine these files, presenting them carefully so the public can see exactly what was hidden for so long.